I designed my logo before choosing brand colors. Here's what went right and wrong. When I started building my brand, the first thing I created was a logo. Like many creators and solopreneurs, I assumed the logo should come first. So I opened a logo maker, experimented with some icons and fonts, picked a few colors, and within an hour I had my logo. At that moment, it felt like a big step forward, but later, when I started designing my website, creating graphics, and building digital products, I realized something important. Creating the logo before choosing brand colors created both advantages and problems. In this video, I'll show you the good and bad of designing a logo first, how energy and niche influence brand colors, why contrast ratio and saturation matter, and how to use color wheel strategies to build a proper palette. This video is also a part of my Solo Business Starter Kit series, where I share practical systems for building a solo business. If you want all the guides in one place, including the brand color system guide, logo design guide, and other starter guides, you will find the link at the top right of this video. Part 1. The good side of creating the logo first. Let's start with the good side, because creating a logo first isn't always wrong. One advantage is speed. When you're building a solo business, momentum matters. Designing a logo quickly makes your project feel real. Once I had my logo, I could immediately start creating YouTube thumbnails, social media graphics, blog visuals, product covers. The logo acted as a starting identity. When designing my logo, I used Canva Logo Maker and Wix Logo Maker. Canva offers thousands of templates, icons, and fonts, which makes it very beginner friendly. Wix Logo Maker generates logo ideas based on your brand name and preferences, helping you experiment quickly. There are also other useful tools like design.com, an AI powered logo generator, luca.com, which generates logos based on brand preferences, brandcrowd.com, which offers customizable professional templates, logo.com, which can generate logos along with basic brand assets. So, creating a logo today is easier than ever. But this is where the hidden problem begins. Part 2. The problem that appeared later. When I started building my website and creating more content, I noticed something strange. My brand visuals didn't feel consistent, and the reason was simple. I didn't actually have a defined brand color system. My logo had colors, but those colors weren't designed as a complete palette. So every time I created a new design, I had to guess which shade should I use, which color should buttons be, which accent colors works best. Sometimes I use darker shades, sometimes lighter ones, sometimes completely different colors. Slowly, the brand started looking inconsistent. And that's when I realized something important. A logo is just one element of branding, but your color system affects everything: your website, your marketing graphics, your social media content, your product visuals. Without a defined color system, scaling your brand visually becomes much harder. But before we talk about color systems, let me show you something interesting. Two brands can use the exact same color, but one feels energetic while the other feels premium. The difference is saturation. A highly saturated color feels bright, bold, and energetic. A low saturation version of the same color feels softer and more premium. This is why many luxury brands use muted colors, while creator brands often use vibrant colors. So, color choice is not just about the color itself, it's also about how intense that color is. Part 3. Brand colors based on energy and niche. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that brand colors should match your brand energy and niche. Different industries communicate different emotional signals. For example, high energy industries like fitness, gaming, or startups often use colors like red, orange, or bright yellow. These colors communicate action and excitement. Trust based industries like finance, consulting, and education often use blue, navy, or teal because they feel stable and reliable. Creative industries like content creation, design, or digital products often use purple, pink, or vibrant gradients to communicate creativity. This is actually why I built a brand color generator tool. It helps identify color combinations based on brand energy, niche, mood. If you would like to try it, you will find the link in the description. And in a moment, I'll show you the simple three color system many creator brands use to keep their branding consistent everywhere. But first, let's talk about something many creators overlook. Part 4. Understanding contrast ratios. Another concept many creators overlook when choosing brand colors is contrast ratio. Contrast ratio measures how clearly one color stands out against another, especially when you place text on a background. The higher the contrast ratio, the easier it is for people to read and recognize elements. This is important not only for design but also for usability and accessibility. Design standards like WCAG use contrast ratios to define what is considered readable. Let's look at the most important ratios with simple examples. 3:1 contrast ratio. For large text and UI elements, a 3:1 contrast ratio is considered acceptable for large text and interface elements. This works well for things like large headings, buttons, icons, navigation elements. For example, imagine a dark blue button on a light grey background. Even if the contrast is not extremely high, the button is still easy to notice because it is large. Another example could be white text on a medium blue background for a large headline. Because the text is large, it remains readable even with a moderate contrast ratio. 4.5:1 contrast ratio, standard for body text. A 4.5:1 contrast ratio is considered the minimum standard for normal body text. This is what most websites should aim for when displaying blog content, product descriptions, captions, long form articles. For example, black or dark gray text on a white background easily achieves this ratio. Another example is dark navy text on a light pastel background. These combinations make reading comfortable even for long periods. If the contrast drops below this level, users often feel eye strain, especially when reading on mobile devices. 7:1 contrast ratio, high accessibility. A 7:1 contrast ratio provides excellent readability and accessibility. In simple terms, 7:1 means the lighter color is 7 times brighter than the darker color. This difference makes the text very easy to distinguish from the background, which improves readability. This level is commonly used by educational platforms, financial websites, government services. For example, black text on a pure white background has very high contrast. Another example is dark navy text on a very light grey background. These combinations are extremely easy to read and work well for audiences of all ages. If your brand focuses on education, consulting, or authority based content, higher contrast often improves user experience. Example of poor contrast. Now let's look at a common mistake. Imagine light grey text on a white background. Technically, the colors are different, but the contrast ratio is very low, so the text becomes difficult to read. Another example is yellow text on a white background. Even though yellow is bright, it still lacks enough contrast to be readable. This is why many websites that look visually attractive still feel hard to use. Contrast and brand design. Contrast is also important when designing brand elements. For example, your call to action button should contrast strongly with your background color. If your website background is blue, a bright orange or yellow accent color might be used for buttons. This contrast naturally draws attention and guides users to the most important actions. Simple rule for creators. If you are building a brand or website, remember this simple rule. 3:1 contrast is for large headings, buttons, icons. 4.5:1 contrast for body text and normal content. 7:1 contrast, best for readability and accessibility. When you combine proper contrast with balanced saturation, your brand designs will feel much more professional. Now back to branding. And this is exactly why defining a brand color system early makes a huge difference. When colors are selected with contrast, saturation, and brand energy in mind, every design you create later becomes easier and more consistent. And that's something I only realized after creating my logo first. Part 5. Color Wheel Strategy. Once you choose a primary color, the color wheel helps you create supporting colors. One method is complementary contrast, where colors opposite each other are paired, like blue and orange. These combinations create strong visual attention. Another method is analogous contrast, where colors next to each other are used, like blue, teal, and green. These palettes feel smoother and more harmonious. And the third method is triadic contrast, where three evenly spaced colors are used, like blue, red, and yellow. These palettes feel vibrant but balanced. Now, here's the simple three color system many creator brands use: one primary color, which is the brand color, one secondary color, and one accent color. This structure keeps designs consistent across all platforms. One simple guideline many designers use is the 60-30-10 rule. It helps balance colors in a design. About 60% of the design uses your primary color, usually the background or dominant brand color. Around 30% uses a secondary supporting color, often for sections or larger elements. And the final 10% is an accent color, which highlights things like buttons or important actions. Using this rule keeps your brand visuals balanced while still drawing attention to key elements. Let me show you what this actually looks like in practice. When a logo is designed, before defining brand colors, the brand often ends up with inconsistent thumbnails, mismatched website sections, different color shades everywhere. But when a brand color system is defined first, the results are very different. You get consistent thumbnails, unified website design, recognizable brand visuals. This is why many strong brands start with the color system first, then design the logo around it. Lessons learned. Looking back, creating my logo first had both advantages and drawbacks. It helped me start quickly, but it also forced me to rebuild my color system later. So, the ideal approach today is simple: define your brand colors first, then design your logo using that palette. Conclusion: if you're building a solo business or creator brand, remember this: your logo matters, but your brand color system shapes everything else: your website, your content, your marketing visuals. That's why in my solo business starter kit series, I've created simple guides to help you build these foundations. You'll find the brand color system guide, the logo design guide, and other starter guides all in one place. Just check the link at the top right of this video. And if you want some help generating brand color combinations based on energy, niche, and mood, try my brand color generator tool using the link in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.